Fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
I was around 20 years old the first time I was introduced to meth.
It's very dangerous because you can't take it just once.
Methamphetamine is the fastest growing drug problem in the state of Virginia.
I didn't know that it was going to be this addictive to me. I didn't know that it was going to change my life like it did.
Once you're addicted to a drug like methamphetamine, you'll do anything to get it.
It'll lead to coming to jail. It could lead to worse. There is no happiness in methamphetamine.
They either end up in jail or they end up dead.
It's called methamphetamine, also known as meth, speed, crank, ice, and so on. Lots of names for a drug that's a living nightmare. The next few minutes aren't going to be pretty. You'll see and hear some things that might even turn your stomach. But these next few minutes could save you or someone you love from a ruthless killer, methamphetamine. Unless you've been living in a cave, you've heard about meth. But chances are most of us, including me, haven't heard enough. Meth is horrible, scary, and unbelievably evil. It's the worst kind of horror movie because it's real. So for now, I'm going to skip some of the facts and figures, and we're going straight to the names and faces. We found William Wade serving time in the Washington County, Virginia jail. William was going to school with plans to join his father in a successful business. But then meth came along and wrecked all that.
Now, my plans have completely changed. Now I'm going to do 7 years in the federal penitentiary because of methamphetamine.
And there's Crystal Shelton. Meth hooked Crystal and wouldn't let go. She took meth, which made her lose a lot of weight. She cooked meth, which made her lose her children.
It really completely changed the person that I was because I cared about nothing and nobody but getting high. And I would do anything to get high.
But now, meet a guy named David Parnell. David was hooked on meth for 7 years. He's a recovering meth addict now. But what meth did to David and his family is something he remembers every time he looks in a mirror.
Meth took over my life, and it became king over all the other drugs. I didn't want to do nothing but meth. I abused my wife and beat her, threatened her life on many occasions, and would shoot guns beside her head. All I wanted to do was more dope. And there was no way that I could love my kids whenever I didn't love myself or anything else except for the dope. When she said her and the kids were still leaving, I thought, that's it. This dope has robbed me of everything. And I reached over her and grabbed the gun and thought, that's it, I'm blowing my head off.
What happened to David next is something you'll see in a few minutes. And it's something pretty common in the nightmare world of meth. Because this drug has an evil habit of making people do things they never thought they would do.
It makes you think differently, act differently, do things that you never would have done, and never, ever would have done things like that around my children. But the drug just completely took over my life to where I didn't care. I thought, well, you know, as long as the kids are in the next room, I can get high and it'll be all right, as long as it's not right in front of them.
A child, for example, 4 years old, father was taking methamphetamine. The effects of meth last for a long period of time, over days sometimes. And this young child was subjected to abuse the entire time that the dad was on his high.
I've stole for methamphetamine. I've robbed for methamphetamine, cheated people for methamphetamine, just anything.
We just had a case just 10 days ago in Virginia. 17-year-old driving down the highway near Stanton, Virginia on meth. Ran into a 50-year-old woman in the back and killed her. And so now his life is ruined, charged with a felony with very serious penalties because of his methamphetamine use.
What we have to do is stop the demand. And one of the things we're trying to do is get our message out to young people, throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia, which is to stay away from methamphetamine. It will ruin your life.
So what's in meth that screws up people's lives and brains? Basically, it's a witch's brew of poisons you wouldn't ever consider opening up and swallowing. But somehow, in a drug addict's mind, mixing it into meth makes it okay. The shopping list includes battery acid, lantern fuel, and other killers. The main ingredient in meth comes from these, legit and legal cold and sinus medicines. These medications contain ephedrine and pseudoephedrine. Those chemicals, combined with some of the other stuff I mentioned, makes for a toxic chemical that the meth addict snorts, smokes, injects, or eats. And the idea of a meth addict manufacturing or cooking his or her own supply creates other problems here in Virginia. Meth lab explosions burn and kill, not just the people inside, but any innocent person too close at the wrong time. Too much heat, the wrong mix of ingredients at the wrong time, and it's over.
The criminal defendant was in his home making meth because he was addicted, and he would also be selling it on the side. The mother took the young children out to do trick-or-treating, and when they came back, their entire house had been burned to the ground.
Now listen closely to some of the comments you're about to hear, because along with hearing what meth does to a child's world, you might also catch some clues about what meth does to a user's mind.
You're very paranoid when you smoke meth anyway. It makes you just aware of everything and just thinking, okay, everybody's coming to get me.
If you keep doing it and you keep doing it and you stay up for days on end, you're going to eventually start hallucinating. You'll see shadow people, stuff that's not even there.
They had seen me shoot guns, and in my house it's got over 200 bullet holes in it, where I would run through the house cussing at the top of my lungs, blowing holes in my ceiling where I could hear people walking upstairs.
Did you catch it? Paranoia. Imagining everyone's out to get you. That's something all meth users have in common. Now mix paranoia with an addict who's armed, and most of them are. And what do you get? It's a lethal combination. Officers are seeing more and more guns, sometimes stockpiles of guns, in the hands of meth users. A deadly weapon is made even more dangerous with a paranoid meth addict's finger on the trigger.
We find by and large that our meth users and our meth dealers are armed. They'll put up cameras, very sophisticated motion detectors. They'll booby trap their residences or whatever facility that they may be in, so that not only law enforcement can't come in, but no one else can come in, any other unwanted people.
And here's another way meth kills. Users are hyperactive, stay up for days without sleep, lose their appetite, and don't even think about food. But I wouldn't recommend this diet plan, because meth is doing other things to your body. Your teeth rot, brain cells die, your lungs are burned by meth smoke, your blood pressure rises, long-term liver and heart damage set in, just to name a few things. And then there are meth bugs. Not real bugs, but the meth user thinks they're real. And he feels these bugs crawling under his skin. So the user scratches, pulls, and tears his skin to get to these bugs. That's why a sign of a meth user is scabs and gray, leathery skin, especially on the arms. And here's the nasty part. If an addict goes too long without a hit of meth, he gets so desperate for the taste of the drug that he'll pick his scabs and eat them.
So my face looked awful. Everything was sunk in. You could see my cheekbones. My eyes were sunk in. I had dark circles under my eyes from not sleeping. I looked horrible. I did.
Meth has the addictive power of other drugs times a million. How else do you explain a person who sees what meth is doing but keeps going back to it? That's why it's stupid to think that you can experiment with meth. 99% of meth users are hooked after their first try.
You can't just experience meth once. You can't do it. You're not strong enough to do it.
Back here is where I was at the morning that I shot myself. We had the bed set up right here in this area.
Back to David Parnell. You're about to see where meth took him.
And I just reached over my wife and got the rifle and put it on my stomach. Whenever I kicked the safety off, she tried to grab the barrel. Before she could, I pulled the trigger, and the bullet went in me right here and come out between my eyes, breaking every bone in my face.
I had nothing left. I said, look what I've done. I've lost everything. There's no reason for me to be alive right now. I contemplated killing myself. Thank goodness I did not do that. But at the time, I did not care.
Can you imagine what type of feelings that my people are going through, that my family are having right now, that my son is having without his dad? I'm wondering why he doesn't have him. It's hard.
I know. It's easy to feel hopeless when it comes to beating meth. That's why the smart thing is to never take that first hit. But for people who have taken that step, there's far too much at stake to just throw our hands up and surrender.
Because of the growth in the problem in Virginia and feedback we've gotten from law enforcement, the General Assembly of Virginia has passed a number of laws in the last couple of years, I think, that have helped.
We are making progress as far as stopping methamphetamine labs from being created. We've had new federal statutes, new state laws that prohibit the sale of some of the ingredients, particularly pseudoephedrine, which you find in cold tablets and other kind of ingredients.
But don't think meth is that easy to beat. Even now, meth and its ingredients make their way into Virginia from super labs in Mexico and other areas. By now you know breaking free from the meth addiction is almost impossible. Putting a number on it, only about 7% of addicts stay clean and don't go back. Rehab is a long, hard road. That's why we keep repeating the message.
It is a powerful, powerful drug that once it gets its clutches into you, it's very, very difficult to get away from.
I'm here to tell you, it can be you, it will happen to you. And I'm hoping that nobody goes down the road I did. I mean, I wish to God I had never seen it the first time. If I could go back in time right now, I'd have never touched it when it was offered to me.
Please don't do meth. Just don't do it. Turn and walk away. Just don't do it. Because you could end up exactly where I'm at right now.
I'm United States Attorney John Brownlee, and you've just seen the tragedy and the suffering caused by methamphetamine. We in law enforcement want to stop this from happening to anyone else, and will prosecute and punish those who sell methamphetamine to our citizens. But we cannot do this alone, and I need your help. Tell your friends how dangerous methamphetamine is. Tell your friends that you can get addicted after just one use. And tell your friends that meth kills.
For more information, or if you know someone struggling with meth addiction, please visit this website.